Research explains how language may impact the likelihood of furthering intergroup relationships. And this study looks at how language proficiency influences US students' desires to further develop a relationship with international students. And they look at what role does identification with one another play, and does this interaction potentially impact all future interactions with similar outgroup members? The study was completed online and included 126 university students from the US. And the way that it was done is the authors created this Facebook page to look like authentically like a Chinese female student at the same university. They had two different versions of the same page and posts, one that included very high language, English language proficiency, and one that included low English language proficiency, as well as a few other potentially impactful factors, like posts including white versus Asian friends. And afterwards, they were asked to rate how well they identify with the student, their desire to connect with the student in the future, their desire to connect generally with similar outgroup members in the future, their thoughts on the student's language proficiency, and then a general attention check to gauge how engaged the participants were when reviewing the page. And what they found here is that high English language proficiency does overall indicate a higher likelihood to want to connect again in the future with the fictional international student, but there were no effects noted for in-person contact. It was just online. And one of the hypotheses was that identification with the international student might lead to a desire to further interact with them. And it appears that this may in fact be a possible mediator for the relationship between language proficiency and the desire for future contact, not only online, but also in person. And then finally, it also appears that there's a chance that the desire for future contact with the fictional international student might extend to other similar outgroup members, but this was noted as an indirect effect and could be further studied and evaluated. And some of the key takeaways that Natalie brought from this is one, that language can help bridge a gap and bring people closer together, a common bond and cultural likeness in sharing the same language, at least somewhat fluently. That the key to shared language really lies in shared identity. When we're better able to relate or identify with someone, even only in specific ways, it can help desire to interact more and build bonds, build greater bonds. And this may also extend to the outgroup as a whole, which is pretty beneficial in intergroup contact. And this study also speaks largely about the need to understand diversity in all its forms and to understanding of things like language barriers. When we can become more adaptable in this way, we can help bridge gaps with outgroups and learn to identify with each other despite differences. Yeah.
What an interesting study. Like to do this through a Facebook page with university students, it's very interesting. But yeah, I mean, clearly, obviously they're using language, but I like that. Like the takeaway is doesn't necessarily just have to be language. It's some way of identifying with someone that, you know, maybe doesn't look like you from the outward appearance, but you can still find common ground, maybe through on the Facebook, was it right? Yeah, on the Facebook page, something that a photo of something, a dog, then you like dogs. Like even if it's something simple as that, right? That there's still some commonality. Very interesting. What the first bullet?
Yeah.
I remember I had a question. It was, but there were no effects noted for in-person contact. So, how did they know that? Like, I don't understand that part. Like, about the in-person contact just online. Wasn't the whole study just viewing the page and then? But maybe in the follow-up questions, like, do you want to meet this person? Is that what that's referring to?
I think that's what it's referring to. Yeah, that would be my. That's what I would think, at least. I noticed that. I mean, Natalie put here that they just some of the questions that they asked were their desire to connect with this student in the future. And so maybe that was specifically tailored towards in person.
Yeah, and obviously relating this, to the workplace, as Natalie did, goes to show, like the last paragraph there, the need to kind of understand or not only be exposed to more diversity, but understand the implications of it, like how there's both like an opportunity for growth if you can find, and like how to almost use it as a benefit and understand the benefit of it by acknowledging the differences, but also like the similarities, like focusing more on the similarities, such as we share a common bond of whatever it is.
Right. Right. Oh yeah, and I feel like I at least my thought is, like, if you are talking with somebody who's whether you're somewhere that does not speak your language, and you're trying to connect with other people, and there's some sort of a language barrier there, then I feel like you can I don't know, maybe automatically kind of are drawn to those things that do make you similar, like because you're looking for ways to connect, and you notice that there is this language barrier, but I don't know. I feel like it almost increases the desire sometimes to want to go out there and notice what you're similar with the other person. I mean, this is maybe a little different because it's a Facebook page, but definitely.
Yeah, I think it also highlights, like when you're in that situation, especially in person, or even on a Zoom call, right, where you're still seeing that individual, I think it heightens the awareness of nonverbal communication as well. So it, like, and that in itself is a common bond that you could kind of focus more on, although we can't understand each other, through the words that we're speaking. We can show facial expressions and other things like that is a way to further build that bond, and identify with the other.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.